The following is a presentation of the Belly Up Sports Media Network.
This is Haymaker Combat Sports. Here, coming straight from the source. Only with the real, they ain't here to dress it up. Sweet science, MMA, you can get it all from us. Trust, 5 stars cause it's live. And through the fight game, we can guide ya. Slick talking, putting them in caution. Passing all the goals cause the audio is awesome. What you waiting for? Spread the word, tell a friend. This the podcast where all of the discussion ends. When they start going strike for strike, this the show that'll tell you what you seen in the fight. They ain't playing on the mic, this a welcome to the show. Warm it up for the squad, Haymaker of the bros. I'm a bow wow, you can hear it from the pros. It's Haymaker Combat Sports, time to roll.
Welcome back, Haymaker Combat Sports, powered by the Belly Up Sports Media Network. I am your host, EJ Reed, joined by my fellow host, Aaron Admire, Steve Johnson. How's it going, fellas?
It's Tuesday, that much closer to Friday.
Yep. How's it going, Steve?
Pretty good. Here to talk about these fights.
How's y'all's weekend, man?
Uneventful, which is good these days.
Yeah. You had a little routine watching the fights or anything, or order some food or anything?
No, didn't do anything special for it. Just came home. I actually watched all the prelims and everything, which I don't normally get to do. So I was on the couch the whole time.
How was your watching experience, Steve?
It was pretty good, knowing it was first major card of the year. Mostly excited for that, but as we'll talk about later, is mostly a disappointment, but better than nothing on.
Well, let's just jump right into it. UFC 297 taking place in Toronto, Canada at the Scotiabank Arena. First pay-per-view card of the year. We had a card the week before that, but this is the first pay-per-view of the year. So let's talk about the results for the early preliminary card. I don't know if you got to watch these as well, Admire. We had Jimmy Flick fighting Malcolm Gordon at catchweight. So I'm guessing somebody missed weight, which ended in submission, arm triangle. Women's bantamweight, Jasmine Davicius defeating Priscilla Cachoeira by submission, anaconda choke. Sam Patterson defeating Johan Lanese at welterweight by submission. Did you watch any of these early prelims, Admire?
Yeah, I watched these and I was like, man, this card's off to a good start. Just opens up with 3 submissions. The bar was set high coming out early.
Which one was the most impressive out of those submissions?
I like the last fight. It was pretty good, even though it ended in round 1. It was going pretty good. The girls' fight was also pretty decent. I mean, to be honest, all 3 of them were pretty decent fights. I was watching with my girl, and I was, telling her, I was like, these guys are on the early prelims. These are kind of lower level people, but they're fighting to make a name. So you're going to see these people, fighting a little bit harder than normal.
Steve, did you get to see any of the early prelims?
Yeah, just a few of them. I saw the Polyana, Viviana, and Juliana Robertson, and that surprised me because not that I've focused on them a lot. I figured from the highlights, Viviana would win that because every time I think of Jillian Robertson, for some reason I always see her losing. But she fought through that fight, and I think she came in there with a mentality to prove something because she pretty much pulled through that fight and dominated her opponent.
Okay, so that's a good segue into the preliminary card that was on regular ESPN. Like Steve was talking about, we had Jillian Robinson defeating Polyana Viviana by TKO, second round, women's strawweight. And we had Ramon Taveras defeating Sahiri City versus decision catchweight. So another person that missed weight, that was supposed to be at 135, I'm guessing, because somebody was 139.75. Sean Woodson defeating Charles Jourdain at featherweight decision. And then the featured prelim fight at the top of it was Garrett Armfield defeating Brad Katona in the bantamweight division by decision. And Admire, we were texting each other. I didn't follow up on this. What was the controversy? Was somebody announced wrong at one of these prelim fights?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think it was the Woodson fight that it was announced wrong. There was a couple of things in the prelims that happened. I don't remember now, but we were messaging. Somebody got announced wrong on one of them. I know that. And then something else happened. I can't remember off the top of my head now, but it was kind of a weird start, for the prelims. There was one fight that I was going to mention, the City and Tavares fight. It got bloody. That was a good back and forth. I mean, they were beating the shit out of each other, man.
Oh,
I
really?
really liked that fight. That's the one I think I was telling you to go back and watch.
Definitely, when you're mentioning that fight, it refreshed my memory. Tavares is he's a little bit of a beast. He got some skills. I think City, he turned it up a little bit to make it a lot of interesting fight. I think are in the later second and third rounds. But I think Ramon Tavares, he's a very good competitor as far as what I've seen from his skills, his evasive skills with his boxing. And like Admire said, he tore City's face up, got real bloody.
So it's a split decision. Who you think won the fight, Admire?
Oh, I think they got it right. I think Tavares, got the best of him. He was in pretty much control, pushing the pace. Yeah, they got the decision right.
You think so as well, Steve?
Definitely. It was an interesting fight. Like I said, towards the end of that fight, I think he jabbed him pretty good in the nose, and I think he got him a little bit upset. But other than that, it was Tavares all day.
So do y'all think this is a must-watch, go back and watch type fight?
I thought it was pretty damn good. I mean, for a prelims, I mean, they were banging.
Who missed weight, if any of y'all remember?
I didn't even pay attention to the weigh-ins or when they announced the stuff when they were walking out. Neither one of them really looked bigger than the other.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you.
Let me see. I got it here. Let's see.
I mean, it's
it's
bantamweight, so one of them was 4.5 pounds over.
Yeah,
4.75 over.
Tavares weighed in at 139.75.
So that's a discussion that's always been had in the sport. You think those 4.75 extra pounds gave him an advantage since he got the win?
I mean, when we originally talked about this a couple months ago, I always said no, but then you convinced me it does. I mean, he didn't have to, drain himself as much and recharge like the other guy. So it could have. I mean, he was definitely pushing the pace and had more energy, but who's to say that he wouldn't have normally had more energy if he cut that, I don't know. It's one of those things you don't really know unless you run it back exactly the same and make him weigh in proper.
I think they've done the statistics where it says it's like crazy number, like 80% of people that come in overweight win the fight. So numbers
I
lie.
think I heard it was like in the 80% range too.
Numbers don't lie. What do you think, Steve?
I definitely think it makes the world of matter. The best analogy I can do is say if there's a mile competition and you tell half the people to run 800 meters, not miles, as far as a mile, you tell them to run the 800-meter twice around the track and then tell everybody else to be fresh. And other people that had to run 2 laps other than the other person and then start the contest would be dead tired. And that's what I think it's exactly like losing that one last pound. it's not about looking at it and it's a weight different. It's about who exerted themselves to get to that weight. And 1 pound can make a difference, just like somebody has to do an extra lap around the track.
Right. Yeah, I
That
get
makes
that.
sense.
That does make sense, but then it also brings the question, well, some of them choose to cut weight and some of them don't,
Mm-hmm.
So you kind of have that factor as well. A lot of these guys choose to cut that 20, 30 pounds before a fight.
And
They
that's
wouldn't
what
be
makes
as
it hard. Yeah.
they wouldn't be as exhausted if they didn't cut weight, but then they're fighting people that are naturally their same size too, and they don't have that advantage. So I get it both ways, but I always say that, me myself, I'm a businessman. I don't want any more or any less than what we signed the contract for. So if you sign the contract for that weight, you better be that weight.
Yeah, this is always a topic that will always be revisited, and we've talked about it on the show before, but it's been a while since we have, and you could always update your opinion, and there's always new listeners and viewers watching. So what's going to deter these guys from missing weight if they know they can get an advantage? Should it be a bigger penalty?
I think that there should be some. I mean, what is the penalty? Like 10% of their purse?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what they're earning, but those are probably $50,000 fighters. They got penalized the extra $5,000, but you got the win. At that level, they probably have the win clause in their contract where they get extra. So he makes it up by winning. I think they should put in some kind of rule that you don't really move. You don't move in the ranks. If you beat somebody, but you came in overweight, you don't get to move up.
That makes sense. I say you should even go a step further. You miss weight, you don't move up the rankings naturally, but you miss weight, you're giving up 75% of your purse.
Oh shit!
Yeah, I bet you they won't come in overweight, or they'll fight at their more natural weight class then.
Right. Or what we talked about last time was if you miss weight twice, you got to move up. Like there's no more freebies.
So yeah, those are all three good ideas. What say you, Steve?
Oh, definitely. You're either going to see a lot of people moving weight classes or a lot of people passing away. That's the two things I'm about to see. Because they're either going to make that or like, I'm not signing that contract. Let's take these risks. Then these higher classes, then risking starving and not getting a check.
Man, that's such a drastic juxtaposition. Either you make it, you said they're either gonna make weight or they're gonna pass away. Like, damn.
Hey, that's what you're already in that contract. It's like you in or out, or you ain't got no bills to pay, I guess.
Or like they need to do something for the guy that did make weight. Instead of just punishing the guy for missing weight, give something extra to the guy that made weight. Let him make a change to the fight. Let him decide. Does he want it to be 5 rounds now? Does he want it to be 2 rounds? Like throw a monkey wrench in there.
Mm-hmm.
If it was Nate Diaz's option, he wanted to fight to the death. That'd be his option to do.
Yeah, I mean, just something, give that way that the guy that made weight feels like it's more fair. He still wants to fight. He still wants to make the money. Let him pick something that's more in his favor since he cut the weight and the other guy didn't, or, kind of like in like high school wrestling, the guy could pick top position or bottom position or neutral. Like the fight starts on the ground, since he made weight, the other guy didn't.
Yeah. I mean, that seems a little drastic. You saying start at a different position if you miss weight?
Yeah.
I don't know if people will go for that, but I mean,
there's something
weight.
something to put a little, to even it out a little bit, because I mean it's still an advantage in the fight. The money in the purse part, it doesn't change the fight. But the guy missing weight changed the fight. So the guy that made weight needs to be able to do something to equal that out.
I think Dana has done it before. For the other person would get all the advances if it was a regular fight, and the other person would get no advances. If I can think of a situation like that.
Wasn't it Kelvin Gastelum that he did that too?
Who?
Wasn't it Kelvin Gastelum?
He may have did it to him too, but one that pops in my head is I think Romero and maybe a few other people. But that's what Dana did. Just hey, if he wins, he'll be the champion. But if you don't, you get nothing.
Yeah, they can't fight for the belt if it's in a title match.
Yeah, that's already something that's in place. Yeah, if you miss weight, you can't fight for the title. So of course,
put a treadmill outside the octagon. The guy that missed weight has to run a mile right before the fight.
And that would be fair.
I mean, they give him they give them like another hour or 2 hours to cut the last weight that they miss, and they still miss weight. So that just seems pretty unprofessional to me.
Who was it? Shemaev that missed by 8 pounds or something?
He just didn't give a fuck.
Yeah, you can't cut that in 2 hours.
I think that was the plan, like the whole time. I think there's a conspiracy behind that whole fight card where everybody got shuffled and he missed it by like 10 pounds. But that's just me putting my tinfoil hat on. But I mean, with the way it's going right now, I think it's just going to keep happening if they're only getting docked 10%, like you said, Admire, and they'll make that back if they win.
Right.
Because you get paid, like get paid to show and you get paid to win. So I don't know, but to y'all's point, it sounds like Tavares put in a banger against City, so I'm gonna go back and watch that.
Yeah, and then the main one, the headliner of the prelims, that Brad Katona and Garrett Armfield, that was a good back and forth fight too. You know, I think a lot of people thought Brad was going to win that fight, and Armfield came in there and put on hell of a show.
We touched on it a little bit earlier, but what was exactly what the wrong fighter getting called? You said it was the Woodson fight?
Yeah, I think that was the Woodson fight. I'm pretty sure. I'm trying to see.
Like how they messed that up.
They read the wrong Bruce Buffer read the wrong name. Like whoever totaled up the scorecards put the wrong name or no. I'm wrong. The ref raised the wrong arm when they read the scores.
Oh, so it wasn't Buffer's fault.
Yeah, it wasn't Buffer's fault. The ref raised the wrong arm.
So Buffer read one name, but the ref raised the other guy's hand.
Yeah.
What the hell? What kind of Bush League amateur hour is that?
Yeah, it was weird.
Was it a known ref like Goddard or anybody?
I don't remember which one it was. I'll have to go back and watch it.
It's probably Mark Smith, that guy. Yeah, it's just, you know, the night starting off like that, maybe foreshadowing the rest of this card, which we'll get into right now. Let's talk about this main card, fellas. The one that kicked this fight card off for the main card, we had at featherweight Movsar Evloev defeating Arnold Allen by decision. And I mean, Movsar was in his face the whole time, but anything he was landing, it wasn't like fight ending intentions. He was doing enough to win rounds, and I mean, it was okay. Not very entertaining in my eyes, but I'll start with you, Admire. What do you think about this fight?
You just summed it up. I mean, it didn't seem like anybody was really fighting to win. They just were there. Like nobody was really pushing the pace. I guess Movsar kind of got the nod because he was a little bit more aggressive. I think he landed just a couple more shots than Allen. Not a fight that anybody's ever going to remember or talk about.
Steve?
Yeah, I think the only thing exciting or controversy of this fight was the knees. I guess every UFC, I'm going to have to see because I literally to this day, as more than a casual fan, I would say just a little bit more, what this knee rule is.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, I have a perception of if your hand's on the ground, and now it's palm, and there's always a gray area on this. And when he did it, I was giving him the doubt like it could have been legal, but to me, I feel like Allen threw those knees as desperation shots because you're not going to throw them many knees and not be too sure if his hand's off the ground. I think at that moment he got temporary upset and out of frustration threw those knees. But luckily they are, let's just say they were saying they were legal.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because that second round, that illegal knee, and they had to stop it for a while. And each state has like a different fighting commission or athletic commission, and I don't even know the damn rules. So I don't know. So I know sometimes it's like 2 hands down, you're down, and 1 hand. Like I don't know. Maybe you could shed some more light on that, am I?
Yeah, I think most of them go like isn't it like the 3 points down? Like as long as like 2 feet and 1 hand is on the ground, they can.
There
were you know it changes, it seems, you know, because you'll see fights where guys, you know, have them down up against the cage and they're jerking them up trying to get the hands off, or so it would be 3 points they can't, or but it's 2 points. There's something about how much is touching the ground.
I feel like it was reminding me of Gegard Mousasi and Chris Weidman, except Gegard got lucky because he literally lifted him and they replayed it and his hand wasn't on the ground. But when they replayed this Allen knees and against Oswald or whatever his name is, Oswald, it literally seemed he threw like 3 or 4 knees back to back and his hands were on the ground, a few of those. So it just got me confused because I always thought the middle game that I didn't like myself, putting a little pity little hand down, pretending that it's either you're up or down. And I feel like that was one of those situations that I don't like it, but they can get away with it. But this fight, they let it happen. So I don't understand it.
Yeah, I mean, from Mobzar's sake, good thing it didn't cost them the fight. I don't think they took a point away from Arnold Allen for doing that. But
they said it's a hard warning.
That's what they always do, hard warnings. So when is there gonna be a point where you just skip the hard warning and just take a point away?
Mm-hmm.
That'd be pretty interesting. I don't think they will because they always give the fighter the benefit of the doubt. Because if they were just to take points away automatically, John Jones would be in trouble with the eye pokes.
All right, so I got to pull it up here. So it used to be that anything other than the feet touching the ground was a grounded opponent, and you couldn't knee them. You know, they could put a finger down. Can't do it. That's a grounded opponent. Now they have to have both hands down, palms or knuckles to be grounded. If it's just one hand down, they're free game. But it's only certain states.
See, that's the confusing thing. It's only certain states. So other states, you only have to have one palm down.
Yeah.
And what's so crazy that I remember some fights to where I think the ref told them they can do it, and it turned out to be illegal. So, you know, who knows when everything comes in and all the doctors and they get everybody's talking about what to do. Sometimes I don't even think the ref is sure themselves.
Oh, you can do it. Go ahead, do it. Blast them with a knee, gets brain damage. Oh, my bad. We in Arizona. I thought we were in California. That's so absurd. Why don't they just have a uniform mixed martial arts rule that's across the board for every state? I guess that make too much sense, huh?
And it says under both rules, once your knee is down, you are a grounded fighter.
I know that, but like Steve was saying, then you're playing that game. And I guess some states you only have to have one hand on the ground. Other states you have 2. That's just
I mean, with all the other stuff that they can do, like the example I like to use is John Jones, that kick to the knee that he does.
Mm-hmm.
that does way more damage than a knee to the head. Like you could like cripple somebody for life kicking that knee, hyperextending it.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if I agree with that.
I feel like ultimate damage is if you sustain neuron damage, because that functions the whole body. But I get the concept, what you're trying to say, Admar. That's a devastating injury type of that would sustain an injury. But like I say, they say the elbows, is that more devastating than 6 to 12 or a kick or a bat to the head? You know what I'm saying? It's like we already have some more devastating moves on play, but that's more sustained to the head, which I think is more important. But I totally get what you're saying, Admar.
Right, but if they're worried about fighter safety, get rid of knees to the head no matter what. Because look at MVP versus Cyborg. You know, that was a legal knee and it crushed his fucking skull. So
yeah,
I mean,
I didn't think that was possible till I saw that him do that.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, looking at that, if we're worried about fighter safety and everything, I'm going to advocate for no knees versus doing more knees to the head, because it can happen in any position, really.
Nah, you got to keep knees to the head. We need that in the sport. But I get what you're saying. I mean, like Steve was saying, I mean, I get what you're saying with the take, like the John Jones kicking to the knee. Like you can mess somebody up and take them out and have a long-term injury, but knees to the head, like that's like you can get your knees replaced. You can't get your brain replaced.
Yeah, I mean, think about Masvidal versus Askren. That was a legal knee, you know, and anybody other than Askren, it would have been brain damage.
Yeah, I mean, so you're saying they should take the knees to the head all out just entirely?
If there's going to be that much confusion around it, just get rid of them entirely.
I don't know.
How much difference do they really make? How often do you really see a knee to the head?
I just think you should just be more clear with the rules of a downed opponent. But if you're like standing and I think those are like some of the sweetest knockouts. When if you're standing, if you're standing with a knee knockout, they just don't have it clear on when they're down. How don't you like seeing those flying knee knockouts? Those are pretty sweet.
Oh yeah, for sure. But you know, I don't know. You kind of have to go either way on it. Either you have to ban them or just let everything happen. You know, because if you're gonna have rules on, like we're talking about, if you're gonna have this is a down opponent here, this is a down opponent there, it brings too much confusion in it. Either open it up just wide open or close it down.
I don't know, Steve, have they done studies on how bad it is if you get kneed when somebody's down on the ground?
I was just about to say, I think which they probably done it, a straight physics class on what it means. For instance, it depends on if somebody's bent over but on their legs, but no knees touching the ground, or is it beneficial? Huh?
So that sounds kind of kinky.
Yeah. But if it's but in physics, is it okay to take away the knees unless opponent's knees on the ground? Because if opponent's knee on the ground, then most likely you can get the takedown. So would you take away the knees? It's gonna have to talk to what is beneficial for any fighter, for a grappler, or because taking out all knees, you're just going to take out all the stand-up knees. And then which really what we're trying to attack is what is considered a down opponent, which down knees are. It's all going to depend if you're bent over and no knees. I said it, if you're bent over with the no knees, or you got your knees on the ground. I think that may be the argument.
Yeah, but I mean, if you think back to the Pride days, I mean, you could knee people who were down, you could stomp them, you could soccer kick their head. Like everybody turned out fine
until we find out 20 years down the line that Rampage is a full vegetable.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it can go either way. We don't know, a lot of the damage. They just assume. I mean, they're just assuming because a knee to a downed opponent's head sounds horrible. That sounds like the worst thing that could happen in there when realistically it's not. I mean, I would rather, if you think about it, think about guys fighting on the ground and doing a knee to the head versus Francis Ngannou just straight laying somebody out by cracking them in their head. That punch is going to do probably more damage than that knee.
To me, it can be devastating, but shit, I say do it, because as soon as you stop a fight, the less brain damage. You're already sustaining damage. And I think an example of this, of what a promotion that's doing this, is one. Demetrius Johnson got taken out and got his win back. But hey, as soon as he got hit, those are devastating, and the fight ends. I don't think, maybe grounded knees might not be as devastating as standing knees.
Definitely something interesting to ponder about. And to your point, like you just mentioned, isn't you can knee a grounded opponent in one, isn't that right?
Yeah, I think that's how DJ lost it after a while, after his UFC run. After UFC's, he hasn't lost, and then he fought Adrian Moraes, I think is his name, and got taken out. I think he was so used to not getting kneed on the ground to where he didn't expect it, and that took him out instantly.
Yeah, because I remember when that fight happened, I don't think DJ realized that could happen. Like you could get knees to the ground, or wasn't it like they had a fight in Muay? They had like a Muay Thai fight? Maybe the rules were different than that. I can't exactly remember how it unfolded.
I think he had another fight with somebody who was a Muay Thai practitioner. He had a Muay Thai first round in MMA, but this Adrian Moraes, I think, was a straight up MMA battle.
Yeah. I'm sure they have scientists and people that study this, so it's just weird. I just feel like they should have unified rules. Either you're gonna do it or you're gonna not do it, instead of having these areas of gray where some states is different. But I guess we'll see how it shakes out in the future. But let's talk about the next fight on this card, fellas. At middleweight, we had Chris Curtis defeating Marc-Andre Barriault by decision. I'm not gonna lie to the viewers and listeners. I watched this fight, but I wasn't paying attention that hard because I was digging into my dry rub wings when this fight was going on. But I feel like it was pretty much an even fight. It was a split decision, and I mean nothing significant. Both guys didn't seem like they took a lot of damage in this fight, and I feel like this decision could have went either way. I thought I had Marc-Andre winning it, but the judges gave it to Curtis. But what were your thoughts on this fight?
I mean, it was the same as the fight before it. I mean, it didn't look like anybody really wanted to win. It was like they were there to just not lose. I actually scored it for Curtis. I thought he did just a little bit more of the pushing, but other than that, it was just another not a fight that anybody's going to remember or talk about. I mean, I don't think either one of them are going to gain, much hype or move in the ranks with this.
Steve?
Yeah. Let's just say he fights just like his sparring partner, which is Sean Strickland.
We'll get
really
into that a little later. Foreshadowing.
He almost I was gonna say, and I remember Dominic Cruz talking about he's fighting like he's sparring. But what I don't like, where Curtis I feel like has always been his boxing, his number one go-to thing. And what I hate, when there's a stalemate, even when there's two people maybe landing shots, but it's really like there seems to be more to be done. I can't stand where people can't veer off to what they expertly like to do and try to do something else to win a MMA fight. And all that was mostly boxing. I mean, are you going to go for takedowns? If you know is there urgency? This is the third round, and do you think you're winning? And I think we talked about this before. I don't know what fighters be thinking, although fatigue can do it. You got corner people like, do you want to be dominant? Are they not confident their fighter can press it and start dominating? I don't know, but like I said, he couldn't be mad if he lost the fight. So that's the way I look at it.
Yeah. This fight could have been on the prelims. Like, I really don't understand why this fight was on the main card. Like you said, he's Sean Strickland's buddy. That's probably why he got it. I mean, I don't think either guy were ranked, so there's really no implications on this fight. Just for them to get another paycheck. And this is not a fight that I'll be talking about within the next week. I was going to say months, but they got a card, I think, next weekend. So definitely a throwaway fight. But let's talk about this next fight. This is probably the most exciting fight on the card. We had a welterweight fight between Neil Magny versus Mike Malott. And Neil Magny coming back and taking the win by TKO. So Malott was basically dominating this fight, and then halfway through the third round, Neil Magny got his second win, was able to reverse that. He was on the bottom. It was like he reverses the mountain, got on top, and I think this was just a war of attrition because I just think Malott just got tired and he wasn't responding, so the ref just had to call it, and Neil Magny was able to have a come from behind win. And I'll start with you, Admire. What were your thoughts on this fight?
Yeah, Malott was running that fight. I mean, he was landing most of the strikes up until kind of the ending sequence. He hit a lot of takedowns. He controlled most of everything. And then, Neil Magny in veteran fashion, 15 seconds left, just scores the win. I mean, I think Malott, like you said, was kind of just tired from pushing the action, doing the takedowns, kind of just doing everything, and just kind of just ran out of gas at the wrong time.
Steve?
Definitely, I see he couldn't press that action for all those rounds to that point. This is actually the fight that actually woke me up during the card because I think I was rooting for Neil Magny in the second round. Like, dang, man, you thought I was going to be who I thought you were. Sort of like how I felt like Tyron Woodley every time he lost his title. Just had lost faith in him. But yeah. I woke up like, hold on, what's going on? He started getting tired, and he started dominating. I was like, wow, out of all these fights, I got one of them right, But out of the one you think he wouldn't. But definitely it came out of surprise. And actually what we were talking about is this premonition was right. His veteran actually came through for him, his what he knows and his expertise from this young fighter. So big ups for Neil Magny.
So what does this win really do for Neil Magny? Because I feel like I said in the pre-show that we did, I feel like he's perpetually a gatekeeper.
I was about to say not a damn thing. I'll be honest, not a damn thing.
I mean, he jumped up a few spots. They got him at number 12 at the welterweight now.
Neil Magny's at number 12?
Yeah.
Damn, that's crazy. I would have never guessed.
That's literally gatekeeper. I mean, I'm not mad at it. I mean, he's still gonna get his money. So why not keep being like I guess the totem pole or the gauge on to see where these younger fighters are at, and if you can still keep making your money. And I'm guessing he's not taking a lot of damage because what? How old is he now, Admire?
Let's take a look.
I want to say he's like 37, 38, somewhere around that
36.
36. Okay, he's a little bit younger than I thought. I guess he just plays the longevity game, and I like to see who do I like to see him against next. I don't even know.
I just can't remember him. I must not been paying attention and any time in top 10 lately. I always thought he was outside of, I don't know if he's been further away on the other side of number 12, or did he just get out of 10? But I guess I haven't been paying attention as to his ranking. I didn't think he was that close to 10.
Let me see.
I didn't know that either.
I feel like he's been losing lately.
Yeah, everybody shocked me with that piece of news.
I think, in my opinion, ranked right next to him at number 13 is Kevin Holland. I think Magny should fight the winner of Holland and MVP.
So you just trying to see all the black on black crime.
Well, I mean, Neil Magny's fought almost everybody, and he's never fought Kevin Holland. Of course, MVP's new, so I mean, why not let Neil Magny and the winner of Holland MVP fight?
I'm surprised those two haven't fought yet, but we know
Neil Magny and I'm surprised now. I must have forgot, but Magny and Neil fought.
Jeff Neal and Neil Magny.
Yeah,
I remember that. Neil Magny won that one. It's like, I feel like
they said it's I
remember that fight because those two, their names are so close, even though I feel like their styles are different.
No, they didn't fight.
Jeff Neal and Neil Magny, they didn't?
No, isn't that the fight that got canceled twice?
Oh,
I think it got canceled twice.
You know why I paused? Because I totally just didn't. You said their names are close together. I was like, hold on, what am I had a brain fart. I was hitting Neil Magny, and I just got confused looking at the.
They did fight. I know I'm not crazy. They did fight. They fought in 2021.
Yeah,
did they?
In May.
Yeah, I make me think I was crazy. Because I remember Neil Magny winning that fight.
I remember it was Jeff Neal and Neil Magny, and something happened because I thought it got canceled once or twice. But I guess they did end up running it. They fought, and Neil Magny won it because because their names, they both have Neil in their names. I interchange them in my mind, and I always mix up who the other fighters that they fight a lot of the times. But even though their styles aren't really that similar, because Jeff Neal, he'll knock you out, and Neil Magny's more of a volume guy. But since their names are similar and they're both black guys, sometimes it's easy to mix them up. But yeah, Neil Magny, I remember the confusion with that one. One of them was supposed to fight Ian Gary, but then they interchanged them for the other guy to fight Ian Gary. So I know that was a mix up one time when
I think that's what would be a good fight. Ian Gary and Neil Magny.
I think they fought because I think Jeff Neal was supposed to fight Ian Gary.
Jeff, you see, I'm doing it again.
Yep. Ian Gary beat Magny.
Yeah. Jeff Neal would be a good fight.
It was supposed to be Jeff Neal and Ian Gary, but Neil Magny stepped in. The UFC, they know what they're doing, trying to confuse the fuck out of us. We can't get this Neil, so throw the other Neil in there.
Yeah.
They'll never tell the difference. But yeah, he's gonna continue being the gatekeeper, but I'm sure we'll be entertained by whatever they have him doing in the future. But let's get into this co-main event, fellas. The vacant women's bantamweight championship on the line. Raquel Pennington versus Mara Bueno Silva, with Raquel Pennington getting a unanimous decision. 49-46, 49-46, and 49-45. So Buena Silva came up fired up in this fight. She was all in Bruce Buffer's face, and I'm like, oh man, she's about to come out here and do some work.
Mhm.
The first round, she got that groundwork towards the end of the round, but after that, nothing. It's pretty much all Raquel Pennington, but Raquel Pennington not in emphatic fashion. She was kind of bullying her a lot, pressing the action, getting in her face, and just outworking her. And not an exciting fight, but your new women's bantamweight champion is Raquel Pennington. And what were your thoughts, Ann Meyer?
Like you said, man, I think everybody, like every review I've seen of the fights, everybody was so disappointed in Silva. Like there was such high expectations for her. I think we all picked Silva on the pre-show picks. But Pennington, I mean, she did what she had to do. I think she like outstruck her by like 3 times. You know, let me pull up the stats here. So Pennington landed 265 and Silva landed 96. So she landed almost 3 times the freaking strikes. Like it was so one-sided, and it didn't, to me, it was like, man, really, this is like what the championship, you know, they're fighting for a belt. Like it was hard. It was real hard. It's another one of them fights nobody's going to remember when they're talking about the great women's, you know, fights for the title and, you know, on the big stage. This is not going to be one that they bring up.
So I don't know. You think this was worse than the Holly Holm Jermaine Duranamy fight? That was a title fight too. That was pretty bad.
Yeah,
not that bad, but it was close.
Steve?
Oh yeah, this is the fight that I got disinterested in through watching it. I saw potentials to where she could have probably have got a win over Raquel, but it just wasn't enough. It's just what it was. Raquel was the wall that Silva had to overcome because it was just by odds. It was nothing that she's done too significantly except the takedowns, which proves that she could have done. She could have had took her down, but she was dead tired by the end of the round. So I think that's what done it right there. But as far as this overall fight, let's just say the UFC gods gave Raquel a good opportunity because, you know, you can achieve and people are happy by achieving a belt, but it's about your legacy and will people remember you? I mean, there's some people right now that were UFC champions, and I literally faintly remember them, like Marlon Moraes, right? He was champion, right? And we don't even, people barely remember it.
No, I don't think he got the belt.
Did he have the interim?
Yeah, I think he might have an interim belt.
Well, maybe so. And I think there's a few other people out there I can throw out. I hope y'all get what I'm saying. You just faintly remember them, and it was the vacant, right?
Yeah, this was for
right.
the vacant.
Okay,
because we all know
Amanda Nunes, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you got Amanda Nunes hand-me-down belt that you for real didn't overcome the top competition. You were given what was actually an upper-comer that is still not an elite veteran to be up to par with you. And I think that win was a gimme or just positional. It was the right time for her. It was an easy win. And if you want to win, I mean, and then after that, who is she going to fight to where I think she might have a good fight to try to overcome Henna, which I think easily could probably take her a run for her money. So the way she got the belt, yeah, congratulations, but it's going to matter. People are going to say like you're basically giving it to you based off of what the odds were who were in front of you to fight for it.
Yeah, now you have a women's champ that's 16-9. I think.
Hey, I mean, she might be a dream woman. What was our guy, the light heavyweight champion, Glover Teixeira? What was his record when he got it? He
Was true. It was probably pretty bad.
He's probably in that range, but I mean,
it seemed like he at least upgraded his repertoire. You know what I'm saying? Of like, okay, he's knocking these dudes out with skill and dominating. She just like her last fight probably wasn't even interesting. Like, women's bantamweight may be in trouble unless they get somebody like Amanda Nunes back or somebody up to par with her.
Yeah, Glover Teixeira was 33-7 when he fought for the belt.
So right around that ballpark. She had 9 losses. He had 7, but he had a lot more wins.
Yeah, he had a lot of wins. But I mean, it just shows that Pennington. Not to shit on her too bad though. I mean, she's kind of the vet. You put the vet in against. I know Silva isn't new, but she's newer in terms of being in the UFC. I think she came in like 2018, 2019. So I mean, she hasn't been around as long as all the girls that came in what was it, 2014?
They came in 2013 with Ronda.
Yeah, so I mean, it, she'll have it for a minute, but then who do you put her against next? Pena will beat her. Irene Aldana would beat her. Holly Holm would probably beat her.
Yeah, I think all those women have beat her. I have to go back and look.
Right?
Sure Holly Holm has beat her.
Yeah, I'd have to look, but I'm pretty sure.
I mean, I feel like she's definitely going to be a transitional champion. There's no beating around the bush with that, but you can't take that away from her. If you look up her resume, she could always say that she's a former UFC champion. And
Holly Holm's already beat her twice.
Yeah, he did fight twice. If I'm Holly Holm, like, y'all give me a title shot right now. Beat this woman up twice.
She did beat Irene Aldana 5 years ago.
It's a long time ago.
Yeah, I was gonna say Aldana's not the same fighter.
Yeah, well, I think the immediate next fight they got to do is they got to put Juliana Pena in there.
Yeah, and they've never fought before, I don't think.
And early spoiler alert, I think Pena will probably win that. But we still have Amanda Nunes lurking in the shadows. I didn't get to read up on this, but I read the headline that she was throwing out hints that she may come out of retirement. I don't know if you have the scoop on that, Amire.
I've seen a couple TikToks of her kind of mentioning it, but I don't think anything solid. I mean, that's a pretty quick turnaround.
Yeah, just retired.
Yeah, I mean, that's a quick turnaround, but she could be seeing, okay, well, look who has the belt. I'm just going to come back for one more, make a bag, and win the belt and go home again.
What is that the smart move for her at this point, though? What she have left to prove?
She don't have anything left to prove. I mean, I think she's the women's GOAT. I don't know. I would look at it as free money, and not just because I think she could win easily, but just because she is a big draw. She's still got that star power, so she's going to make money, win or lose. I don't think coming back and if something happens and she loses, I don't think it really hurts her legacy any.
Is it free money though? Because she did lose the Pena once. So what if she gets caught again?
Yeah. I mean, it could happen, but I'd like to see it again.
Is the reward worth the risk, you think?
Well, let's find out. How much was she making?
She's probably in that like 400 to 500 to show, and then pay-per-view points to see the champion.
She's right about 500,000.
Yeah, and then pay-per-view points for the one she headlined. So she probably clearing like 2 to 3 million a fight.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah, and yeah, just looking up her salary right here, popping up in the news is that Amanda Nunes hints at return.
I don't know. Would you be for that, Steve?
Maybe. Or I say if she waits in the right time to see what accumulates, if when Pena comes back to fight Raquel, I heard something that Pena was saying online, and I kind of agree with her in her standpoint. Although I think the first win she got off Amanda was maybe on an off day, and then Amanda proved it the next fight. But she does have it in her perspective. I can see as she has unfinished business. She starched everybody, but hasn't finished the trilogy. If she has something to prove, which to me, as a person that likes UFC, I don't think she has nothing to prove. But for somebody competitive, and it's like Connor and Diaz, they made it even. It's like, really, you're gonna leave it as a let's just call it even, or let's settle this. And for somebody still active and for you to come back, I would say you would try to align that in the stars if you were Amanda. Try to end that question mark after you dominated everybody. That one question mark would be Pena, although I think she would destroy her. But then again, the factor of her laying off and then evening out the factors of, but then again, Pena hasn't been active. So there's so many factors to this.
Yeah, I remember bantamweight, as far as the women goes, I used to be like the glamour division, almost the equivalent of like the women's heavyweight if they had a heavyweight division, and it's been kind of cold as of the past few years, and this is definitely not the spark that they needed, because it's a gift and a curse having a dominant champion like Nunes. She pretty much just cleared out the division, and the light heavyweight division had the same effect with John Jones clearing it out, and both divisions, women's bantamweight and light heavyweight, they're still kind of trying to pick up the pieces. But I mean, it may take a little minute, but this is their opportunity to start building the younger women. Like, a lot of these women that we talk about, Holly Holm, she's ancient. No disrespect to Holly Holm, but are you gonna circle her back around the fight? And Pena,
Yeah, I mean, she's 42.
Yeah, Pena's no spring chicken. I think she's a year younger than me. I think she's like 34. And
Yeah, Pena's 34.
That's not necessarily young as far as the division goes. Well, no, I think why not have Valentina? She's not young, but why not have her fight for the belt? That'll get people talking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think she did a good job with Amanda. I think that was a 145 fight.
They had that at 135.
135.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that was a good fight. I think the bantamweight fight would be good because I think Valentina she can compete because she competed with Amanda Nunes and went head to head with her. So I think that would be a good wild card to throw in there.
But Valentina is coming off of a loss and a draw. Can you really justify giving her a title shot?
Sure, because they would have did it for Connor. I mean, she's not a big name like Connor, but they don't have a rhyme or reason for giving title shots. So why not? I feel like they gave Jessica Andrade a title shot, like maybe up for one win at flyweight. I don't know if you can pull that up really quickly, Admire. I don't think she was on like some amazing streak when she got the flyweight title shot. she did like have a resume for that strawweight title fight as far as Jessica Andrade goes. But we all know that UFC, they do what they want to. So sometimes records matter to them and sometimes records don't matter to them. As long as it brings more money to their bottom line, they'll throw on anything. But I feel like somebody came off a loss and got a title fight. Was it Kobe? Like, didn't Kobe get a title fight off of like? You may have like one win. I know he didn't fight in 2 years, but wasn't it Jorge? Wasn't it Masvidal? He got another title fight against Kamaru after losing.
Yeah. Rush back in there pretty quick.
So it's pretty much no rhyme or reason behind the justifications for a title fight.
Yeah, Masvidal lost to Usman and then came back and got to fight Usman again for the title.
And got knocked the fuck out.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And he got a rematch. And he wasn't even a champion and got a rematch like right away. That doesn't really make sense at all. So,
and then got BMF privileges after that. Like,
I think that was
that title.
I think that was before
It was before the first.
That was before.
Yeah, it was Nate Diaz. I think that's why he got a title shot because of the BMF hype. I remember people were like, "How come Kamaru doesn't have the BMF belt now?"
Yeah,
but story for a different day. But yeah, but that women's bantamweight division is wide open. But let's talk about this main event, fellas. For the middleweight championship of the world, we had the champion Sean Strickland versus Dricus du Plessis, with Dricus du Plessis winning by split decision 47-48, 48-47, 48-47. So that first round, Sean Strickland was his best round, in my opinion. He looked pretty decent, like always, throwing out that jab and pretty much controlling it from there on. I feel like DDP pretty much did what he wanted to in the fight. I mean, what he did wasn't super dominant, but he controlled a lot of it. He just looked like he was getting the better shots off. He looked the stronger fighter. And a lot of people had it 3-1 going into the last round. And I guess you could call round 2 and round 5 like a swing round. But I think I had it 3-1 going into the last round. And I think DDP edged him out in that last round. I think I had it 4-1, but you can make your case for 3-2. But I thought DDP comfortably won that fight. Admire, what were your thoughts?
I've watched this fight like 10 times now. So originally watching it, I thought that DDP won. Rewatching it again and again and again, I keep scoring it different every time that I watch this fight. Like DDP got a lot, some of the takedowns, but he didn't do anything with it. I don't think that he landed the better shots. I think Strickland landed the better shots. He was working the jab. He was winging that right. Now, DDP landed a lot more kicks, especially to like the legs and the body and stuff. And he even went up high a couple times, but they didn't really do any damage or really connect. I mean, it depends on which time I watched it, what answer I'm going to give. Like I said, watching the fight, I think DDP won. About every time I've watched it after, I think I scored it for Strickland. I don't know. They have to run this back. I would not be surprised if they make this rematch the main event at 300.
Before I get my thoughts on that, Steve.
Yeah, just looking at the fight, just first impressions, just me remember what my thoughts on it was. I honestly felt like Dricus won that just based off of I felt like he had the more impactful shot. I think Driscus was getting more respect at times. I feel like he was checking Strickland with high kicks. And not only that, I was just seeing overall MMA is basically explanation of that Curtis fight, except Driscus went out his way to actually win the fight just from stand-up, takedowns. And I think that's what decided the fight is takedowns. And outside's a means of taking the fight outside of where it was going, which was a stand-up fight. So in the impression of the judges, I think that may have won over the rounds his takedowns, because I believe he had 6 takedowns to his 0, but definitely Driscus got outstruck as far as significant and total strikes. But other than that, you have 6 takedowns, and I have to calculate when those takedowns in which rounds, but that's a lot of takedowns into 0. So I think that's what did it.
Yeah, I mean, he did get 6 takedowns, but to put that in perspective, he only got 2 minutes of control out of that. So in round 1, he got 2 takedowns and controlled it for 28 seconds. Round 2, he got a takedown, controlled it for 22 seconds. Round 4, he got 3 takedowns and had 1:18 in control. So I think you're right when you say the judges kind of gave him points for those takedowns, but in the real world, nothing, like no damage was done during those takedowns. There was no real control. He wasn't landing a lot of shots on the ground. Like, Sean is a great scrambler and gets back to his feet very well. And I think I've said it before, I think people should get awarded points for escaping the takedown. It's traditionally been the person who gets a takedown, they get a point no matter what happens. But I think if you can get up from that without taking any damage, that should say something on the scorecards. I don't know.
I don't think that should happen. You get rewarded just for not getting beat up. I get it, but I don't think you should get rewarded for it. You should get points for it, but you shouldn't get. And then I think that's how they've been scoring it recently. If you don't control them on the ground, you shouldn't get points for that if it's like a pop-up takedown, because a lot of those takedowns that DDP was getting, he didn't do anything with them. So, but I don't know. They just don't have like a clear scoring criteria when it comes to that. But going back to something that Amir mentioned earlier, Sean Strickland, he had I don't know what kind of mind control he has over his fan, but he had a lot of people fooled. Like, this is the same Sean Strickland that we get every fight outside of that outlier of the Israel Adesanya fight. I don't know. Maybe just because people like what he says on the mic. I mean, he's polarizing. We'll get into that a little bit later, but I've never gone out and be like, I want to see a Sean Strickland fight. We see the same thing, him working the jab. He's not a violent fighter. He talks a big game, but never does it. And like I said, I think that Israel Adesanya fight was just an outlier. So, excuse me. I definitely don't think we should see an immediate rematch. He didn't defend the belt once, so why should he get an immediate rematch? Maybe a rematch down the line, but I don't think we should be throwing out immediate rematches with title fights unless it's justified. Just because of the close fight, a lot of people have close fights, but it's not like he was a dominant champion. So I don't see in what world they would run this back. You got to throw Israel Adesanya in there or find somebody different.
But Adesanya hasn't done anything to earn a title fight after getting beat.
He's the most recent dominant champion in that division.
Yeah, I get that, but I think the reason you have to run this back is not because it was a close fight, but because there's so many people divided on it. I mean, it to me, it was closer than a close fight. Like, it's a presser. Dana White said he scored it for Strickland. And if I could find the page, like, I had all the media outlets scoring on it. Everybody was divided straight down the middle on who won that fight. Like, there's a lot of questions left with it. I mean, the only reason I don't want to see it ran back, there's a little part of me that don't want to see it, is I don't think it'd be any different because them guys gave it all they had and like they didn't even rock each other. We were talking about how DDP was talking shit to Strickland, saying, now we know why you have a 33% finish rate. DDP landed big shots on him too, and really, it didn't phase him, didn't rock him, couldn't do anything to him on the ground. So I think if you run it back, you're going to have another real close decision.
And I got to see the pay-per-view buy rate. I mean, you got writers and stuff that are saying it was a close fight. I'm sure you got fanboys that maybe want to see it, but is the majority of the public want to see this get ran back? Like, I'm not hyped. I wouldn't be hyped. I wasn't really hyped going into this. I like how they were. I didn't like it, but I thought it was intriguing how they were brawling in the crowd. But watching this pay-per-view, like going into it, I wasn't like extremely hyped for it. So is that even a moneymaker running this back? Like you said, it was really close where not a lot of questions got answered, but would there be even a lot of hype going into a second fight, headlining the pay-per-view? I don't know about that.
I don't know. I mean, as just my opinion, not really. I don't think, I mean, it would be a title fight. It would have to headline something if it's not, on a big card like 300. But I think that's kind of part of the crowd fight. This card didn't have a lot of hype going into it. They had to do something to spice it up a little bit. And as we saw, the card turned out to be pretty much an overall dud. Like there wasn't anything big for it. But I think there's a lot of hardcore fans that this is like a new rivalry as of right now because it was so close and there's so much back and forth and argument about who should have actually won. I mean, Dana White, he's seen more fights than all of us because he's seen them all. And, he scored it for Strickland.
But we know Dana he says he doesn't, but he has his biases. And I think he's friends with Sean Strickland. I've heard him say that for other fights too, where I scored it for the other fighter and like, damn, like that guy won it. I mean, he's supposed to be the president of the company. I feel like he shouldn't even comment on who he thinks won the fight because it's going to sway the public. That's just my take.
It doesn't matter if he sways the public, though, because, I mean, what really matters is the judges that, score it. I think Joe Rogan scored it for Strickland.
And what about Anik and Daniel Cormier? Rogan wasn't even on this card commentating.
Yeah, but he did a fight companion during the fights. Him and Crazy Eddie.
So I don't even because I was at a bar watching it, which I rarely go to because I was in St. Louis on the weekend. But I couldn't hear commentary. I don't know what Anik and Cormier. Who was it? Was it Dominic Cruz with them?
They kept it pretty neutral as far as the commentating because it was. I mean, it was close. I mean, you said you scored it 4-1.
Yeah, but I could see it being 3-2 as well. Like I said, the fifth and the second were the close ones to me.
Right, but like just the overall, Strickland, outscored him 183 to 140. So Strickland had the striking advantage. The only thing he didn't have was the takedowns.
But it's a must score system. So it could have been one round where he just outstruck them a lot, and then it could have been like the first round he just outstruck them by that much, but he could have lost the other rounds by close margin. So
yeah, but
those numbers could be deceiving
on a round by round basis. Sean Strickland outstruck him every round.
Now that's a different story, but you got to put the wrestling involved, and then like we've talked about in other shows, damage, and I have to go back and watch it. Like Steve saying earlier, he felt like Sean was getting some damage shots, but I feel like DDP was the more aggressive fighter, and I'd have to go back and watch it.
Yeah, I mean, And the damage part, though, I mean, Strickland, he had several cuts and he was bleeding. DDP was just swollen and bruised. I mean, it was damage on both sides there for sure.
Yeah. I don't think they run it back immediately. They will fight again. Definitely do. And I wouldn't mind seeing them fight again, but I'm just not interested in immediate rematches. I'm not a fan of them unless it was a dominant champion, but to each its own.
A former UFC fighter that does some commentating on his own, he said the bad thing is Bo Nickel would beat both of them.
I don't think so. Like I like Bo Nickel, but we gotta see him fight somebody in the top 10 first. I'm sure he'll get there. I definitely see him being the champion. He's not the youngest guy either. Isn't he 28?
Yeah, he's upper 20 somewhere.
So, I mean, man, I think
28.
I think the person that controls a lot what happens is Izzy, but we don't know what he's gonna do in the near future. So I don't know. It's a lot to unpack and untangle. What was that at?
Well, what do you think? You know, let's hypothetical. What would happen in an Izzy DDP fight? How do you see that fight going?
I have no clue what type of Izzy we're gonna see, because what he put out against Sean Strickland, I don't know what kind of. I never seen him fight like that before. So if you were to bring that against DDP, he'll lose. So I have no clue. On first say, I say Izzy probably would get the decision, but I don't know. Like, is DDP going to wrestle again? Because if he does, then he'll probably get the win. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know. What do you think, Steve?
As far as what's next for Duplessis?
No, if DDP and Izzy were to fight, like what would happen?
It seems that Izzy proven that he has excellent scramble and takedown defense himself. If not up to par of Sean Strickland, and Izzy has fought more caliber fighters of back-to-back wrestlers than Sean Strickland, and Sean Strickland did pretty well against DDP. I think Izzy can weather the storm with Duplessis wrestling, from looking at what he did with Sean Strickland, and be able to keep it at least on the feet. And Duplessis is going to have to use his wrestling as desperation, getting rest tactics, more of using it as keeping him down, because he couldn't keep Sean Strickland down.
That's a good point.
Did you just get the breaking news?
What's that?
Kayla Harrison from PFL has signed with the UFC, and she's making her debut at UFC 300 against Holly Holm.
Oh, that's definitely some good breaking news, and you hear that first on Haymaker Combat Sports, but you probably won't hear that first because this episode probably won't come out till Wednesday or Thursday. So, but you still hear it here on Haymaker Combat Sports. That's big news. Is it going to be featherweight?
It didn't say what weight class it would be. She most recently fought. She fought a catchweight at 150.
This is what I've been clamoring for. They actually try to build a featherweight division. I don't know if they will, because Kayla was saying that she doesn't like cutting weight. She fought at featherweight when she did that random fight in Bellator. I think she randomly fought in. No. It was what's the LFA? It's the Invicta. She randomly fought in Invicta, because I remember because you can't elbow in PFL, and she's like, Invicta, I can elbow. They randomly lend them to Invicta. So because Invicta is owned by the same people as UFC, so I thought it would have been naturally that she came over to UFC, but she still fought in PFL a while. But I'm a huge Kayla Harrison fan, and that's big news because I've been excited, because she's like Ronda Rousey on steroids, because she could actually strike some, and Ronda couldn't. And she's a gold medalist in judo, and Ronda was only a bronze medalist. So it's just they're throwing her to Holly Holm. I guess they're saying that Holly is damaged goods because I think she is going to dominate Holly. It's not going to be close. But
Yeah,
I'm hoping they bring back that featherweight belt now that it's vacant and build that division up. But they might fight at bantamweight. I don't know, but that is big news. And yeah, Kayla Harrison. That's dope. But going back to the main event, there was a lot of talk and chatter around Sean Strickland and his press conferences. Emma, I know you follow up on it. What was the controversy behind that? Were they asking him questions? I know he's been saying controversy stuff.
Yeah. There was a guy in the media that was asking him questions, kind of asking him questions that he's going to give a fucking crazy answer on. Sean Strickland's very outspoken about different things, and he was just pretty honest about it, just talking shit like he normally does. And I think it was the same reporter that asked the question to ask Dana White at the post fight, about giving his fighters a leash to say whatever they want and blah blah blah. And Dana White's like, no, it's freedom of speech. Like, I don't give them a leash. Like, it's called freedom of speech. It was because the fights were up there in Canada. They're a bit more liberal up there and stuff like that. So they pretty much wanted Sean Strickland to give sound bites of saying some crazy shit, and he did.
I'm not gonna dig into the weeds too much about what he actually said with Sean Strickland. I just want to talk about Dana White's stance on it. I feel like he's kind of a hypocrite because they're trying to mold this league to be like a NBA or NFL. Of course, you have freedom of speech. Your freedom of speech is saying that the government can't control what you say, but you're a private company, so you kind of had to have like some guidelines on what people saying. Like, if you're in the NBA or NFL, you're gonna get fined. You can't. So is Dana White just saying that the UFC is the Wild Wild West now? Because he's been on record where he suspended. What fighter was it? It was a heavyweight. It might have been not Pat Barry. It might have been Matt Mitrione. He said some stuff like in 2014 or 2015, like something about the LBGT community or something like that. And he got fined, and Dana White was like, you can't be saying stuff like that. And what was it? It was a bantamweight. Somebody talking about a rape ban, and he got cut. So what happened? It was Miguel Torres, I want to say. What's freedom of speech in those instances?
Right. Yeah, I mean, everybody likes to throw that freedom of speech out there. It doesn't mean freedom of consequence, though. You can get in trouble for what you say. And I think that maybe it's because the sponsorships that the UFC has it's locked in and can't be canceled or something. Because I would be worried about a big sponsor like, I'll just say Bud Light, because that would be, one of the top sponsors. What if they say, you're not punishing this guy for saying this crazy shit, we're cutting our cord? Then Dana White will probably do something about it. Like, until a sponsorship gets canceled over it, he'll let them do whatever. But it is hypocritical of him, and you can see kind of how Dana plays favorites. John Jones has gotten away with a lot of stuff, doing stuff, saying stuff. A lot of the top fighters have got away with a lot of shit, but just Dana White knows they bring in the views, so he doesn't do anything about it. He's almost a billionaire, and I'm not. So who am I to say how to run a company?
Steve?
Yeah, it's all depending. They got the stock numbers, and although I can agree, but it's both ways, because Dana can be buddy with these corporations, and while everybody's saying one thing, they're both seeing stocks go up just from them associating a Bud Light name to what Sean Strickland says about Bud Light or whatever. and it just creates money. And I think that's what, at the end of the day, corporations will turn a blind eye if it generates money, unless it's bringing harm to somebody.
And you pretty much hit the nail on the head. He has his favorites, and until, like you said, a big sponsor pulls out, I think he'll say they can say whatever they want, or they talk about like fighters having benefits or something, and he'll call them idiots and try to cut them as well. It's just if you say something that he doesn't like, then it's a problem. So
Right. But it also could be, they do want to be, like you said, they want to be the NFL, the NBA. But the difference is these fighters are contractors. The players play for the league. So that could be the difference. Dana White in the UFC, when they bring in a sponsor, they might say, hey, these guys say wild shit. They're contracted. They're not employees of the UFC.
And what exactly? And like I said, what I feel about it, Dana has it set up to where the responsibility reflects on the brand, but on the fighter. And I think he gaslights it that way. What we can remember what Brock Lesnar did. He pulled that Coors out instead of Bud, I think, on that one night. And I think he fined him. And that just proves right there that UFC didn't get fined. That independent contractor got fined based on being on contract with that corporation, with the UFC. So they got it more set up. The fighter takes the hit more than the brand.
yeah, that caveat of them being independent contractors probably plays a key. But like I said earlier, we've seen instances where people have gotten in trouble or suspended or fined, and I don't know.
If you're making the company money, you can say whatever you want. If you're a mid-level guy, don't say what you want.
Yeah, that seems what it seems like to be. Yeah, just it's about your position and whether or not you're in favor with the higher ups. But yeah, but I don't think we got into this. I think you kind of projected on what may happen, but what do you think will happen as far as who both of these guys fight next?
In my opinion, like I said, you have to run it back. If you don't run it back, probably, man, I don't know. I think a lot of people are tied up towards the top. Izzy, like you said, deserves the title shot if that's the way they go. Put him against DDP. Put Sean Strickland against the winner of, who's fighting Whitaker next? Costa?
Yep.
Yeah.
Do Strickland against the winner of Whitaker Costa?
Yeah. That makes sense. I'm still waiting to see Sean Strickland kill somebody in the cage. He's been talking about it, and I've been seeing the same stuff from him over and over again with him working jabs. But what do you think as far as both of these guys fighting next, Steve?
Yeah, I can see Izzy coming back and fighting Strickland.
He said, so it'd be you want to see him fight Strickland before he fought DDP?
It could be an option, or Duplessis. But as far as Strickland, that Whitaker out of Costa would be a good fight, because I don't think we're ever going to see, unless he changes his style, we're not going to see Strickland in a good fight unless he gets somebody that has pressure or has a legitimate threat to take him down, and he's not winning that one. So Acosta would be a good fight for him. Like I said, if Izzy chooses to, you know what, I definitely want to get the rematch off of somebody that beat me. One of those I have to prove a point things. Izzy can go that way, or, take out this newcomer that's on the top of the hill now and get your revenge later, or see Strickland fade off. we'll just have to see.
Well, Izzy said he ain't coming back till 2027, so we have 3 more years allegedly. But they try to. I bet if they try to drop that big bag for 300, I'm sure he'll come out of his early sabbatical.
Yeah, and I mean, you got to remember Chimaev's back there too. I mean,
oh yeah, I think Chimaev probably beats everybody.
Yeah, and I mean, he keeps like he keeps tweeting everybody about wanting a title shot every time, and like I don't know why they're not grasping onto him and pushing him towards the top faster. Like, is it because he's going to reign the division and just beat everybody? I don't know, but I don't think there's anybody that can beat him. If they wanted to get rid of Strickland, they could just put Chimaev up there against Strickland next.
I wouldn't. I'd be all for that actually, because like I said, I'm not a fan of him getting a media rematch. But you fight Chimaev, you beat him, then you get a title shot. Just win one fight. I'm for that. If you could win one fight at a high level like that, then you get a title shot. Because that's definitely a test to see if you deserve a title shot.
Yeah, I mean, not a lot of people can keep Strickland down. If anybody can, it's Chimaev. If he can get up from Chimaev, then, I mean, you're ready for another title shot.
Yeah, I feel like Chimaev has more proved himself in welterweight, but not in middleweight. I think that Gilbert Burns won him a lot of respect, but this ain't welterweight no more. It's middleweight. And I think definitely he has the skills to beat them, but to prove your worth, you have to you'll shoot up right to the top if you just take out Sean Strickland, which I think he has the skills to do. So that would be his proving ground for middleweight, which hasn't been done yet. Like sort of got respect with Gilbert Burns.
And I mean, when Chimaev, when he fought Usman, that was supposed to be a middleweight title eliminator. So,
really,
I mean, that's what it's labeled as.
I think that was because I think Usman was trying to get a hole opening for a championship title to reinvent itself because he beat Sean Strickland in the past at welterweight. So I think that was his, trying to ask Dana if he can get a championship shot.
He's trying to jump the line and get fast track.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, it's a calculated risk by him, but it didn't work out.
Yeah,
that would have been interesting seeing a rematch against Strickland. But yeah, I mean, they have options, but it's still kind of a mess what they got going on at middleweight. I mean, we don't know what Chimaev's doing. We don't know what Izzy's doing. So I don't know, but I got a feeling that we may see DDP turn around and defend it at 300. And Harrison's fight supposed to happen at 300?
Yep. Harrison home, 300.
So slowly but surely, that fight card is starting to form. And I still got a feeling that they're still gonna do something like a splash fight. I might be wrong. Dana White said it's not gonna be any surprises, but we all know Dana White doesn't tell the truth all the time. So yeah, we're on our path towards UFC 300, but that'll bring us to the end of the show. Anything y'all fellas got before we get on out of here?
Nope. Couple fight nights coming up, and then the one that's flying under the radar for me, UFC 298. Everybody's talking about 299 and 300. 298's coming up. It's stacked, so I'm excited for that. But that's all I got.
Me pretty much just may not be true, but just algorithm saying that they Dana White and Trump convinced Khabib to come back for $50 million, but I'll have to look deeper into that. But they say they got Khabib to come back for a good check.
That sound like cap to me. I don't feel like they don't pay him that much to come back.
Yeah.
That seems like a lot of money for him to come back, but I did hear that Khabib was back in training. Maybe we'll get that fucking Khabib GSP fight.
That's a needle mover. But Khabib fight anybody but Conor or GSP? Is Khabib that much of a needle mover to y'all know?
Well, I heard if he does come back, it would be against Leon Edwards.
See, I don't know. That'll put a 300 over the edge. Khabib was a terrific fighter, but like I said, outside of a Conor or GSP,
Have they got location on 300?
yeah, it's Vegas.
Vegas. Okay.
But I think that Edwards, like I used to shit on Edwards all the time, but I think Edwards' street cred with fans is really high right now after he just completely shut Covington down. I think he's riding high. So, you know, maybe.
So Khabib, Nate, that would do something. Khabib, Jorge, that would do something. Khabib, Conor, or Khabib, GSP. I think Khabib, anybody else would be like, it's cool, but I don't know if it's gonna up your pay-per-view buy rate by like 100K. I don't know. I might be wrong.
I don't know, but it would, you know, where's he from? Dagestan? I mean, it's gonna pull in, you know, that whole area that wasn't playing on.
You got Islam though. I mean, they're basically interchangeable. They still didn't even run back a lot of the ones that Khabib beat. Islam can still go back and beat those guys. So
yeah, I don't know. There's still a lot of rumors. I mean, I feel like UFC 300 isn't complete yet. They don't have their headliner yet.
I'm telling you, it's gonna be Brock, all juiced up and roided out. Then they get rid of USADA. He's gonna be all juiced up.
Give me Brock Lesnar versus Derek Lewis.
I wouldn't mind seeing that. Or a Brock versus give me a Brock versus Stipe.
I did hear something else. Aspinall. Somebody.
Give me a Brock and Aspinall. Give me Brock versus any of those guys.
Yeah, I think Stipe denied a Aspinall fight.
I would too, but because he doesn't want to lose that John Jones fight for the title. But I feel like Brock Lesnar at a 300, that's a good consolation prize. And you know you're going to get a bunch of pay-per-view points. And at this point, if you're Stipe, do you really want to get the title back? Because Dana White would be pissed if you fought for the title just to retire. And you don't want to get beat up at heavyweight and defend that belt. You already proved that you got the most defenses in the division's history. So
yeah, and Brock's been at UFC 100 and 200, so why not?
And on that, he's been like pretty ghost as far as like the WWE side of things. So maybe that's what he's training for.
Again, who knows? They might be keeping it real quiet because I think 200, Dana got mad at Helwani for
breaking it. Yeah, for leaking it. And I think that's the last time Helwani's had like a work relationship with the UFC like that when that happened.
Oh,
Dana
yeah.
White, because Dana White flipped his shit and
yeah, he's pretty mad about that.
Give me Brock versus Fedor, UFC 300.
I wouldn't even be mad at that just because we've been trying to get that fight for forever.
Yeah.
Even though they're both old. But that would definitely have a splash just because we didn't get to see it. And Fedor, he just fought, I want to say early last year or late 2022. So it's not like he's been out of the game for that long. Give me the last Emperor versus the Beast, Brock Lesnar. A dream fight that should have happened 15 years ago, even earlier than that. Probably we should have probably saw that in 2007. I mean, I think Brock was just getting in the UFC at that point, but definitely 2008. So should have saw that fight like 16 years ago.
Yeah.
But I still think they got a lot of fights to announce for 300. So we'll keep our eyes out on what happens with that next. But we appreciate everybody for tuning in. The listeners and the viewers, make sure to like and subscribe on YouTube at the Haymaker Combat Sports YouTube page where we post the full episodes. And also check out the Belly Up Sports YouTube page. We post our quickie episodes on there and also clips from our full episodes, the segments. So be sure to check out both of those YouTube pages. And also later on this week, on Thursday, I'll be a guest on Belly Up After Dark. I think that's a live show, so be on the lookout for that as well and support that and support us on the podcast platform as well. Make sure to download those and like those as well. But that'll do it for us here at Haymaker Combat Sports. Until next time, be safe out there. Later.
Hit the takedown, ground and pound, that was from the top. Heel hooking, no more plot, I leave you in the knot. Pound for pound, been the greatest, sitting on the top, and I'm laughing at the fools.